GMO, which stands for Genetically Modified Organisms, in which plant, animal, microorganisms, or many other organisms have to undergo genetic modification in a laboratory by using genetic engineering or transgenic technology. After going through all the required process, new genetic combination will be formed that never exist in nature or by traditional selective breeding or crossbreeding methods. There are vast of research on GMO have been done for thousands of years ago, and on the 1973 marked the first genetically altered organisms ever created, which is a bacterium that is resistant to antibiotic kanamycin. This is done by two great scientists, Herbert Boyer and Stanley Cohen. Genetic modification has to go through quite a number of steps, such as identification of genetic information, copying of information from the organism that has the trait, inserting the information into the DNA of another organisms, and last but not least is growing of new organisms with the desired trait. It is undeniable that with the new advancement in the field of biotechnology possesses its own benefits and risks. In general, by modifying organism genetic, more nutritious food can be produced, crops become more resistant to disease, prolong shelf lives which can lower the risk of spoilage, and most importantly, get to reduce economic costs and carbon footprint because less need for land clearing and pesticides usage. But as for the downside of this technology is that it may lead to diverse health complications, encourage competition with the native species, lead to superweeds and conflicts concerning on the safe usage of the product. After 3.7 billion years of continuous, undisturbed evolution by natural selection, a life form had taken its innate biology into its own hands. The world's first gene-edited babies in the history of humankind were born in 2018 and caused a global controversy, and it was described as monstrous, amateurish, and profoundly disturbing. A Chinese researcher and ex-professor at the Southern University of Science and Technology in Shenzhen, China, Dr. He Jiankui, had created the first germline edited babies. He used the CRISPR-Cas9 genome editing tools, which used to precisely edit DNA by altering its sequence in order to prevent the babies from inheriting HIV by disabling a gene called CCR5, which encodes a protein that allows HIV to enter the cell. It is believed that Lulu and Nana have a missing of one particular variant called CCR5 delta 32, which is naturally present in human population that assists in providing high level of resistance to the most common types of HIV viruses. But somehow, this research gone wrong, and Dr. He has been charged for violating government clinical procedures of gene editing on human embryos for reproductive purposes. He should first weigh the consequences of performing this experiment and opt for a safer and well-established methods to suppress the HIV gene from being passed on to the babies like sperm washing method.
Properly most of the questions. In particular, the question about why was this worth doing?
It's an appalling example of what not to do with a new technology that has incredible potential to benefit society.
And what about traits that we might call enhancements? Should this be a technology that we use to affect a child's ultimate height, their skin color?
As of 2014, there were about 40 countries that discourage or ban research on germline editing, including 50 nations in Western Europe. The primary concern to illegalize this action is of course the ethical dilemma religious belief, and the safety of the organism involved, it can cause off-target effects and more escapism, since no in-depth discoveries has been done and the facts remain unclear.